Hello, my name is Zila Miller, and I will be presenting to you today regarding children with special needs. In particular, I will be presenting on children with autism. And the reason why I have chosen this particular population is because of the fact that the numbers are rising steadily for children who are being diagnosed with autism. Um, so we'll just jump right on in. Children with autism, the social demographics. So we find that 1 in 59 children are diagnosed with autism, 1 in 37 boys. Autism occurs in all races and ethnicities and social economic groups. So there's not like a particular race or ethnicity that autism is diagnosed or found in, but it's across the board. Autism is definitely a developmental disorder, and a lot of times what happens is that parents who have children with autism don't really understand why me is really what happens a lot, is that they question, why me? Why did I have to have a child with autism? In regards with autism, basically what autism is, it's Asperger disorder, which again is a developmental disorder. And according to a comparison of statistical learning in school-age children with high-functioning autism and typically developing other peers, we could see the comparison of how they have social skills or do not have social skills, or their lack of. So their development delays is what it is. They have developmental delays, which means that typically at a certain age when you're supposed to be walking, say for instance a 1-year-old is beginning to walk, at times with a child who's autistic, they do not typically, not necessarily do they begin to walk at 1. Sometimes they walk a little later. And a real known factor is that when most children at 1 year old begin to mimic words, say maybe 1 or 2 or 3 words, autistic children are known not to be verbal. And so when that occurs, it's really important for the parents to take the child in to have it investigated as far as why this child is not developing and what could possibly be the case, which again, we are going to chalk it up as to autism. Now, children with autistic or that are diagnosed as Asperger spectrum disorder demonstrate difficulty with skills that are implicitly learned in any typical developed child. So that's why I referenced the example of you're 1 year old and you typically begin to walk or begin to state words, and a lot of times children with autism do not develop at this stage. So these are social cues that parents must key into and definitely seek out some medical attention to get their child diagnosed. There are so many stereotypes when it comes to autistic children. A lot of times people are like, well, they're just slow. They can't talk. So it's kind of disappointing when people feel that they're not capable to be a part of society, a vital part of society. There's a stereotype of autistic children being unable to function in society, as well as they don't have social skills. There's definitely a stereotype that most autistic children have a special talent and they're really good at video games or computers. It's also said that a lot of children with autism throw tantrums. And again, we have to understand that being the fact that they are developmentally delayed, that they are not very verbal. So again, when they're trying to make a point or asking for something and you're not responding in the right way, what happens is that they will throw a tantrum. They will act out. But these are some of the stereotypes that are posed on children who do have autism. Now, we have to look at the values and norms of children with autism. And when I thought about this, I thought, well, pretty much all children are valued. And there's this norm that children are going to be children. And I feel that a lot of times what happens is if it's the family who they come from have deep values and they learn this from their family. So I feel that values are learned from family. And autistic children must be inclusive. So instead of like kind of pretty much isolating them, they should be included in everything. They should be a part of your family and included in everything that the family normally does. They should not be made to, feel any different than any other child. We know that there's a lot of social barriers where people do kind of isolate their children from those children who are autistic, which is a very sad thing because again, it only hurts the autistic child because again, they recognize and, even though a lot of people think they do not have social cues, they do. They're more in tune and intuitive than you can imagine. So if you're doing this, they kind of understand. They want to be valued, like I said, and they can sense when they're not being valued. Definitely, I would say that depending on your race or ethnicity will determine how your values and the norms are in your particular culture. Again, they just want to be valued just as any other child. They want to receive the same education as any other child. They don't want to be singled out as being different. There was a situation where, and I'm speaking from a personal stance, where I'm really an advocate for autism in a sense because of the fact that my grandson is autistic. We have overcome plenty of obstacles with his autism. And one of the main issues that we've encountered, not only him, but as a family, is bullying and being pretty much kind of deflected in a sense of not being able to receive the education that he deserves. In other words, like When we were trying to put him in the mainstream classes, they pretty much wanted to try to keep him in special ed, although we felt like he was definitely capable to keep up with the other children in his grade, for the mere fact that he does hold a 4.0 GPA. So it was just an issue with his speech. And he would get bullied about this. And again, this is a norm. This is something that occurs in today's society with children, and not only children, with adults. There's bullying. And so, in taking these into account, we just want to make sure that we're aware of what's going on and being the advocate to help our autistic children, no matter who they are. I went over the stereotypes, right? And now the strengths. I feel like there's so many strengths, and there needs to be so much support. Parents, wow, do they need the support? They need help groups. They need family support. They need just all types of support because of the fact that they can't do this alone. No one can do this alone. There has to be accessibility and accountability. So I feel like there's always strengths in numbers and strengths in groups. And with that being said, it's just determining the difficulties that the children and the parents are experiencing, and making sure that they are given the services that they are needed to pretty much be in a place where they're able to conduct themselves productively, I guess you could kind of say. Parental experiences, I've heard them, where parents break down and cry. And, I like to think of a spiritual type of reference in this matter, is that, we are all made in God's image, and there's no mistake when it comes to God that, again, he doesn't give us more than what we can bear, and that in the instance that we are made in God's image, we all are perfect in his eyesight. I know that, again, the family environment is so important. The strengths of the group, like I was saying, is friendly, kind, loving, resilient, smart, overcomers. The autistic children are just amazing to me. I want to also bring up the fact that Amari has really overcome a lot of things, and I hope that you could see this video that I'm about to play. He's grown to like the guitar from when he was a little guy, and if you could kind of, I was hoping that I was able to display the video, but perhaps in the Blackboard link you'll be able to see. Here we go. Here's Amari at age 9. And you can see the comparison, the growth comparison. This is his speech at 9.
My name is Amari Dukes. I have autism. I'm 9 years old. Have a gamma life business. And if I can you do it, and so can you do it, gamma life.
Now this is Amari at 9. Now this is Amari at 14 now, with God's grace and mercy and speech therapy.
My name is Amari Dukes. I'm 14 years old. I eat healthy foods and gluten-free diet food, and it helps me overcome my autism.
So Amari loves to play the guitar, and that is a good outlet for a lot of autistic children, is to play an instrument of some sort.